going to bring up another resource about thesis statements. So we know about thesis statements. You've heard them before. It sums up the central point of your paper or essay. It usually comes near the end of your introduction, and the thesis really depends on what kind of paper you're writing. So we're doing a literary paper, an analysis, and that means that our thesis statement is going to have something to do with the book that we're reading. So we're going to focus on plot, or characters, or theme, or literary devices. Like allusion, foreshadowing. She uses mostly allusion, I would say. Most of you will probably end up talking about characters or theme. So some themes that came up from our discussion last week, and feel free to say some themes, just you're going to be on video, so if you're okay with your voice being on video. What were some themes that we talked about last week that came up?
I'm sorry, can we use just a black marker? Is that green?
Oh, yes, I don't have one. It doesn't come out though.
Very light.
I'll try to add something in later.
Okay.
What were some themes that came up last week? Allison?
Wasn't it something about like movies or books, like comparing it, I guess? I kind of forgot.
So that was an illusion. Very good memory though, because you can write about a literary device. So if you were going to write about illusion in Fun Home, your thesis statement would be about how the writer uses illusion. A theme would be more like death could be a theme, like a mysterious death, or this idea of her father's suicide, or an accident. Another theme could be family secrets. Another theme is repression. So, what?
Like an identity?
Yeah, like an identity crisis or coming to terms with one's identity. And, another theme and device could be this coming of age story of Bildungsroman. It's about Alison Bechdel growing up. We meet her when she's a child. We see her go through some challenges, and then the narrator is an adult kind of looking back. So this idea of growing up is also a theme. Because, when you're a child, you don't fully realize the complexity of your parents. Part of growing older is, getting out of your, kind of breaking out of your family, going out on your own, finding your own path, but also starting to realize that your parents have, they make mistakes, and, they're not perfect, and they're their own people. So I think that's in there too. So those are all themes. You could also write about characters. In this situation, you might want to choose one or two main characters from the book. So, you could talk about Alison and her father, or Alison and her father and mother, or, Alison herself. Wouldn't talk about secondary characters like her brothers. They don't feature that much. You could talk about plot, but make sure it's not a summary, because you're doing something that's more creative than a summary. You're giving your opinion on something. So one example of a plot would be, I forget who brought it up last week, but the idea that Bechdel structures it so that we don't like her father at first, but then we start liking him. Who brought that up? Is she not here tonight?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was a really good idea, and I was thinking about that. And so the way the story is structured, that would be how you'd want to bring up plot. So the first thing you want to do is figure out how you feel about the book. Like, figure out some part of the book that you had a strong reaction to, negative or positive. It doesn't matter if it's negative or positive, but if you have a strong reaction to something, that means that it resonated with you, either negatively or positively. And, you know, I'm not going to get offended if you don't like the book at all. I was going to say I don't care, but of course I do care, but I'm not offended if you don't like the book. So don't feel that you have to say that you liked it. If you didn't like it, that's okay, but figure out why you didn't like it. Likewise, if you liked it, that's great, but also your point here is to figure out why you liked it. So that's the starting off point. That's what we're going to be writing about, this literary analysis. For a thesis statement, it should be about one sentence. It should be very specific because this is a short essay. This is about 3 pages, between 3 and 5. I'm giving you some leeway. I don't give a higher grade because it's longer, between 3 and 5 pages. Allison?
Double space, correct?
Double space, yes. So this is a short essay. The book is long. So a thesis statement really should be specific. If you talk about death, you should really bring in her father in the thesis statement because that's the person who died. Or you could talk about, the, comparison between the funeral home and her father's death. They are an opinion, always an opinion. So a thesis statement is never a fact. I'm gonna make this bigger. So something like Fun Home is a graphic memoir about Alison Bechdel. That is a fact. Anyone reading that book would have to agree with that. So it has to be an opinion to be a thesis statement. And it should be at the end of your introduction. Usually the last sentence. So I'm going to show you an introduction that I made as an example. And that is right here. Under the folder.